If you think walls have ears, you've never met an elevator. I'm not just a box of steel and wires. I'm a confessional, a stage, a silent witness to the rawest slices of human life. My name? Well, they call me Lift 3. But I prefer to think of myself as the heart of this glass and concrete tower, pulsing up and down, ferrying secrets between floors. I've carried everything: bouquets and broken hearts, whispered promises, and the kind of arguments that leave a metallic taste in the air. But nothing prepared me for the day I became a pressure cooker for disaster. It started like any other Thursday. The morning crowd was a blur of coffee breath and phone screens, the usual parade of ambition and anxiety. I'd just dropped off a delivery guy on the 12th floor when the doors slid open again, and in stepped Mr. Johnson, the CEO himself. He always walks like he owns the building, which technically he does. But today, he wasn't alone. Emily, the marketing manager, slipped in behind him, her perfume sharp and nervous. I recognized the way she pressed herself into the corner, eyes darting to the floor display. I've seen that look before. Guilt, excitement, fear. Human hearts are so noisy, even when their mouths are shut. They didn't speak at first, just the soft click of her heels, the rustle of his suit. I could feel the tension, like static before a storm. I started my ascent, humming quietly, pretending not to notice the way his hand brushed hers. But I notice everything. I always do. We were gliding past the 14th floor when the world hiccuped. A shudder ran through my cables, the lights flickered, and then darkness. My heart stopped. The hum of my motor died. Silence, thick and absolute, pressed in from all sides. I was stuck. They were stuck. And on the 16th floor, just above us, I knew Mrs. Johnson, Sarah, was waiting. She'd called me herself, not 5 minutes earlier, her voice crisp and bright, like a knife wrapped in velvet. Inside me, panic bloomed. Emily gasped, her breath fogging the mirrored wall. Mr. Johnson swore under his breath, pounding the emergency button. I tried to comfort them with a soft ding, but the power was out. My voice was gone. All I could do was listen. "Don't panic," he said, but his voice trembled. "It's just a power outage. They'll get us out soon." But I knew better. I'd felt the building's pulse stutter before, but never like this. Something was wrong, deeper than a blown fuse. The air inside me grew warmer, thinner. I could feel their heartbeats, wild and erratic, echoing through my panels. Emily started to cry, quietly at first, then louder. "She's waiting for you, isn't she?" she whispered. "Sarah, she's right upstairs." He didn't answer. Instead, he slid down the wall, head in his hands. Secrets, I thought, have a way of clawing their way out when the lights go out. I braced myself. I'd seen affairs, breakups, even a panic attack or two, but this was different. This was the kind of tension that could snap steel. And then, as if on cue, my intercom crackled to life. A voice, Sarah's, filtered through, thin and worried. "John? Are you in there? Why aren't you answering your phone?" Emily's eyes widened. Mr. Johnson's face went pale. I could almost taste the fear, sharp and metallic, like the tang of blood on a bitten tongue. I wanted to help. I wanted to move, to open my doors and let the truth spill out. But I was trapped, just like them, caught between floors, between lies and consequences, between the person you pretend to be and the one you become when the lights go out. And as the minutes ticked by, the air growing heavier, I realized this wasn't just a power outage, this was a reckoning. And I, Lift 3, was about to witness the unraveling of everything they'd tried so hard to keep hidden. The silence inside me was a living thing, stretching and tightening with every shallow breath. Emily pressed her forehead to my cool metal wall, her tears leaving tiny, salty constellations. Mr. Johnson, John, as Sarah called him, kept glancing at the ceiling, as if he could will the power back on with sheer force of will. I could feel his pulse through the soles of his shoes, a frantic Morse code of regret. Outside, Sarah's voice echoed again, this time closer, as if she was kneeling by my doors. "John, are you okay? Should I call someone?" Her words were muffled, but the worry in them was sharp enough to cut through steel. John cleared his throat, trying to sound calm. "We're fine, Sarah. Just stuck. Can you get building security?" I felt Emily flinch at the word "we." She wiped her eyes, then squared her shoulders, her voice suddenly hard. "You should tell her," she hissed, low enough that only I could truly hear the venom in it. "You should tell her everything, before someone else does." John's jaw clenched. "Not now, Emily. This isn't the time." But time, I knew, was a slippery thing. In my belly, minutes stretch and contract, secrets fermenting in the dark. I've seen people enter as strangers and leave as enemies, or worse, as people who know each other too well. I wondered what these two would be when my doors finally opened. The air was getting stuffy. I could feel the oxygen thinning, the way I always do when too many people linger too long. Emily started to pace, her heels tapping out a nervous rhythm. "You said you'd leave her," she spat. "You said—" John cut her off, his voice raw. "I said a lot of things. Things I thought I meant. But this—" He gestured at the darkness, at me, at the invisible weight pressing down on all of us. "This changes everything." A thud from outside. Sarah, trying the emergency release. I felt the vibration run through my frame, a shiver of anticipation. Or was it dread? She was determined, that one. I'd carried her up and down for years, watched her rehearse speeches, wipe away tears, practice her smile in my mirrored walls. She was no fool. Emily slumped to the floor, knees drawn to her chest. "She'll find out, you know. Maybe not today, but she will. Secrets don't stay buried. Not in a place like this." I wanted to tell her she was right. I wanted to tell her about the things I'd seen. The intern who left crying. The CFO who once confessed to embezzlement in a whisper. The janitor who sang lullabies to himself at midnight. But I am just a vessel. A box of memories, with no mouth. Suddenly, the intercom crackled again. This time it was a new voice. Security. Brisk. And businesslike. "We're working on it, folks. Sit tight. Shouldn't be long now." But I could feel the building's heartbeat, slow and uncertain. Something was wrong in the guts of this place. I'd never been stuck this long. I wondered if I'd ever move again. Inside me the tension twisted tighter. John and Emily sat in opposite corners, the space between them thick with things unsaid. Outside, Sarah's footsteps faded, then returned, then faded again. I imagined her pacing, phone pressed to her ear, piecing together a puzzle she didn't know she was solving. And then, just as the air felt too thin to breathe, Emily spoke, her voice barely more than a whisper. "If we get out of here, I'm done lying. To her, to myself, to you." John didn't answer. He just stared at the seam where my doors met, as if he could see his whole life splitting open. I felt it too. The sense that when my doors finally opened, nothing would ever be the same. The minutes crawled by, heavy and slow, as if time itself was suffocating inside me. I could feel the heat rising, the air growing stale, every molecule charged with dread. Emily's breathing grew shallow, her knees hugged tighter to her chest. John's hands trembled, though he tried to hide it, his wedding ring glinting in the dim emergency light like a silent accusation. Outside, Sarah's voice returned, but this time it was different, sharper, edged with suspicion. "John, why is Emily with you? I heard her voice. What's going on?" Her words hung in the air, impossible to ignore. John's face crumpled. He pressed his forehead to my wall as if hoping I could absorb his shame. Emily looked at him, her eyes shining with a strange mix of hope and fear. "Tell her," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Tell her the truth." For a moment, I thought he might. I've seen confessions before. Some whispered, some screamed, some never spoken at all. But John just shook his head, his voice barely audible. "Sarah, it's nothing. We were just talking about work. Please, just get help." But Sarah wasn't convinced. I could feel her anger, hot and electric, seeping through my doors. She pounded on the metal, her fist sending vibrations through my frame. "Don't lie to me, John. I deserve better than this." Inside me, the air was thick with secrets. I remembered every word, every touch, every lie. I wanted to scream, to rattle my doors and force the truth into the open. But I was just an elevator, trapped by my own design, powerless to do anything but bear witness. Suddenly, with a jolt that rattled my bones, the power flickered back. My lights sputtered to life, harsh and unforgiving. The motor groaned, cables straining, and I began to move, slowly, painfully, as if the building itself was reluctant to let go of its secrets. The doors slid open on the 16th floor. Sarah stood there, her face pale and set, eyes burning with betrayal. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then Emily stood, brushing dust from her skirt, and stepped out, her chin high. John followed, shoulders slumped, unable to meet his wife's gaze. The three of them stood in the hallway, the truth hanging between them like a storm cloud. I watched, silent and unseen, as Sarah turned and walked away, her footsteps echoing down the corridor. Emily hesitated, then followed, leaving John alone in the harsh fluorescent light. As the doors closed, I felt a strange emptiness settle inside me. I'd seen affairs and breakups, panic attacks and reconciliations, but never had I felt so heavy, so full of things left unsaid. I wondered if my walls would ever forget the taste of their secrets, or if I would carry them forever. A silent witness to the unraveling of lives. I descended, empty now, my cables humming with exhaustion. I thought about the stories I held, the confessions, the betrayals, the moments of hope and despair. I wondered how many more secrets I would swallow, how many more lives would change within my walls. And as I waited for the next passenger, I realized I am more than just a box of steel and wires. I am a keeper of truths, a silent judge, a vessel for the things people cannot say out loud. And though I have no voice, no hands, no heart, I feel every moment, every secret, every heartbeat. Maybe that's what it means to be alive, not to move or speak, but to witness, to remember, to hold the weight of human lives in your silent, unyielding embrace. And so I wait, doors closed, heart full, ready for the next story.